Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, judges ruling on Trump-related investigations, Texas suing Allstate over driver data, and New York's $15 broadband law taking effect. Let's remember, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it, and read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, January 14th, 1784, the Continental Congress ratified the Treaty of Paris, formally concluding the American Revolutionary War. This monumental event solidified the United States' independence from Great Britain, marking a turning point in world history. Negotiated in 1783 and signed on September 3rd of that year, the treaty was a carefully crafted agreement between representatives of the United States and Great Britain. Ratification by Congress was required to finalize the agreement, and its approval on this day ensured compliance with international diplomatic norms. The Treaty of Paris recognized the sovereignty of the United States and established its borders, extending from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River and from Canada to the northern boundary of Spanish Florida. In addition to territorial grants, the treaty contained provisions for the repayment of debts, the return of confiscated property to Loyalists, and the withdrawal of British troops from American territory. The ratification process underscored the fledgling nation's commitment to the principles of diplomacy and the rule of law, as Congress navigated the logistical and political challenges of convening delegates during a harsh winter. This event also reflected the fragile unity of the 13 colonies, which worked together to achieve a peaceful resolution to years of conflict. The Treaty of Paris laid the groundwork for the United States' future as an independent republic. It established precedents for territorial negotiations and diplomatic relations, serving as a testament to the resilience and determination of the revolutionary generation. January 14th, 1784 stands as a pivotal date in legal history, symbolizing the birth of a nation under the framework of international law. A federal judge in Florida, Aileen, ruled that Attorney General Merrick Garland can release part of the final report on the federal criminal investigations into Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. However, Cannon extended her previous order barring the Justice Department from releasing the second part of the report, which pertains to the investigation into Trump's alleged retention of classified documents and related obstruction. Garland had intended to keep the second volume confidential, but planned to share it with senior members of Congress. Cannon scheduled a hearing for January 17th to review this matter further. Co-defendants Waltine Nauda and Carlos de Oliveira, who opposed the report's release, might appeal Cannon's decision. While Trump is not a formal party to the case, his lawyers have expressed opposition to releasing the report, and he filed an amicus brief. Cannon emphasized her limited jurisdiction over the documents-related volume and noted insufficient grounds to block the release of the election-related section. However, she underscored that even partial disclosure to Congress could compromise the legal rights of the defendants. Smith, who previously secured indictments against Trump, later dropped charges post-election following DOJ policy against prosecuting sitting presidents. A pending DOJ appeal seeks to overturn Cannon's broader restrictions on the report. A prior appeals court ruling rejected Nauda and de Oliveira's emergency bid to block the report's release entirely. Cannon's latest order maintains restrictions on the second volume until further court deliberation. The state of Texas has sued Allstate, accusing the insurance company of illegally tracking drivers through their cell phones without consent. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton alleged that Allstate built a vast driving behavior database tracking over 45 million Americans by paying mobile app developers to embed tracking software into apps like Fuel Rewards, Gas Buddy, Life 360, and its own app, Routely. The lawsuit claims Allstate uses this data to raise insurance premiums, deny coverage, and sell information to other insurers. Allstate allegedly expanded its data collection by purchasing vehicle location data directly from manufacturers, including Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, and Stellantis brands like Chrysler and Jeep, to more precisely determine when policyholders were driving. The lawsuit argues these practices violate Texas laws on data privacy, data brokerage, and deceptive acts by insurers. Texas is seeking restitution for consumers, damages, fines of up to $10,000 per violation, and the destruction of improperly collected data. This follows a similar lawsuit Paxton filed last year against General Motors for collecting and selling driver data without consent. Allstate has not yet responded to the allegations. New York's Affordable Broadband Act, or ABA, requiring internet providers to offer low-cost plans for low-income residents, will take effect tomorrow on January 15th after a prolonged legal battle. The law mandates that providers offer plans priced at $15 per month for at least 25 megabits per second or $20 per month for 200 megabits per second, inclusive of recurring fees and equipment rental costs. Annual price increases are capped at 2%, and state officials will periodically review speed requirements. The ABA's implementation follows a significant court victory, with the U.S. Appeals Court upholding the law in April of 2024 and the Supreme Court declining to review the broadband industry's challenge in December of that year. The law is seen as a critical measure to address the digital divide, especially after the FCC's broadband discount program expired in 2024, leaving 1.7 million New York households without federal assistance. Exemptions are available for smaller ISPs serving fewer than 20,000 households if compliance would cause financial strain. Over 40 ISPs sought exemptions before the law was initially blocked in 2021. Providers seeking long-term exemptions must submit financial details by February 15th of this year. Non-compliance can result in civil penalties of up to $1,000 per violation. Major ISPs, including Charter, Spectrum, Comcast, Optimum, and Verizon, already offer discounted plans, but New York's law ensures standardization and broader accessibility for low-income residents. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than Minimum Competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment and can leave a rating or review on your podcast player, we'd sure appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcast. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and until then, remember, insert something witty or clever here.